Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Baruch Hashem, I'm doing well. You?
Me too. Baruch Hashem. Everything is going well here. So I was looking through your profile and all the great stuff you posted, and I realized we have similar ways of looking at. We're both relationship coaches, and we both see clients, and it seems like we have a lot in common.
Yes.
At least that's what it looked like to me as I was looking through your stuff. And particularly, I love the fact that you're an Ayved, right? Like you're somebody who has done work on yourself and could speak on the perspective of, men before the change and after, like before, becoming a more relational man. And that's exciting because I think people often ask me, like, what do you see most? Like, what's the Shalom Bayis problem that shows up most in your practice? And I never know what to say. Like, I never know the exact, because all kinds of things show up. But then I realize it's usually this dance around polarity and like masculine energy, feminine energy, and like sometimes like there's the broken or the wounded and like what people do to escape it. So I see a lot of addiction also. And like, so I'm excited. I'm excited to hear what you have to say. And
It's funny
uh,
that conversation, like you bring it up, I get that question a lot, but what do you mostly see? And I would totally agree with you, especially in today's dynamic, that the polarity is completely off. Most couples are depolarized, especially with everything that's going on in society, with women being encouraged to be in their masculine energy and men totally being confused, not understanding whether or not they should be in their feminine or be in their masculine.
yeah,
They don't know where to be. So it's definitely the topic of
yeah,
conversation.
yeah, agreed. Tell me then, what do you think masculine energy is?
So I like to bring an image. To me, it's an immovable boulder, a huge rock that's immovable. And what do I mean by that? Most people might construe and say, does that mean he's stubborn? Does that mean he's immovable? No. It means that he is the emotional stabilizer. When feminine energy is erratic, which I usually compare it to like a flowing river, it's flowy. It feels a lot. It has highs and lows at the same moment. Masculine energy is supposed to be there to balance things out, to be the rock for his wife and for his family so that they can get the support. And the core of masculine energy is going to be a protector and provider. And I don't mean that financially, I mean it emotionally.
Yeah, agreed. I like that. I know it's attractive, like as a female, like, knowing, like, there's a line, it's like when the man says, shh, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
That's the most
Yeah.
attractive. That's what, yeah, don't worry, we're going to make it. It's going to be okay. But what about like financial stuff though? Like, how does that play in? Like, I know a lot of people that are seeing me, the the feminine or the woman is complaining that, like, I don't know, he's not motivated, he doesn't make enough money. I'm the one that always like, this is a problem that shows up also. Like, how do you maintain, like if she's making more money, for example, or she's like badgering him, and I know like the wounded feminine would be like nagging and controlling, and I know that's not our topic today, but a lot of men are not the rock, right? And be it either they're depressed or addicted or somehow wounded. I guess this is what the wounded masculine would
Yeah.
with that, the
So,
wounded masculine.
yeah. So let me answer your first question first surrounding money. What I have found that is just a symptom. The money is
Ah,
a symptom of a different problem. The core problem is he's not showing up for her, right? The Gemara tells us that a woman and a man that are harmonious can live on the edge of a knife, right? What does that mean? That means that the harmony is the problem. It's not the financial part. Because if she felt that she was completely connected, completely one right? They have to be one flesh. That's part of it. It's an emotional, spiritual connection, which a lot of the times talk about my definition of marriage. It's a lifelong commitment to emotional intimacy. Emotional intimacy. And if the emotional intimacy is not there, things like the problem with the kids, the problem with the finances, the problem with the cleanliness of the house, or how people are disrespecting each other or not being appreciated or not, been given the time that they need. I think that it's just a symptom. I don't believe that, yes, money is a problem, right? It could be a problem. And without going into the discussion of women making more money than men, there too, I just think it's a symptom. It's a symptom of lack of harmony between the couple.
I hear you.
Answering the second part of your question, what you're calling the wounded masculine,
yeah.
I like to simplify that, really simple. It's him being a boy and not a man, right?
Okay.
His boy, whether it's some childhood trauma or something he hasn't gotten over, or I get in trouble when I say this, but I believe it to be true. I don't believe Jewish moms raise husbands. They raise boys. They raise boys to be safe. When young men at 12, 13, 14, 15 want to go out on their own, Jewish moms are very overprotective, which in the long run really doesn't help him to learn about his own masculinity, because masculine's gonna drive through. Masculine's not going to listen when he feels something so certain. So to build that muscle in boys, and we see it show up when, for example, they're going out on a date, and Baruch Hashem, I have 5 daughters, and we've been in the shidduch pasha, I would say. We've dated.
I have
we've done the
5
dating
daughters too, so that's that's funny,
right?
Yeah.
Like, she'll get ready for 3 days, and her sisters are helping her. What should I wear? What shoes? What makeup? She's going to get a wax. She's making sure that she's completely, beautiful and prepared. And then you have a young man show up at the door, and he says, "Where do you want to go?" And women are right. You see your face. Guys don't get that, because he's been asking permission for mommy for so long that he doesn't have his own muscle. And let's just go one layer deeper. And the ones that do contrast their mom, the ones that blaze their own trail, sometimes are looked at or upon like the bad boy, right? But he's not really a bad boy. He's just his own man. He's independence. Whereas some of the most attractive thing about men to women are those qualities: being present, being assertive, knowing, of course, when to be soft, right? Knowing when to be caring, but to lead and to be able to make concrete decisions on his own without asking permission. I think that we have to educate Jewish moms also, which, they're the sweetest, loving, overprotective people that I think on the planet. There's nothing like a Jewish mom. But I think in the long run, do you want to marry that type of boy that kind of like listens to everything that mommy says? My answer would be no. He might be a good boy, but I don't know if he makes a masculine husband. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I've got 2 boys too, so I'm writing notes. That being said, sometimes they can be harsh, right? Like that driven, take lead kind of guy. Like, women don't like, I believe that women don't like to be spoken to in a harsh way. So like they need a, it's a hard balance, right? Like, how do you balance this, masculine, I've got this, with a softness that, because women don't like when,
I think it's important what you're saying, and we can identify it like this. When I say a man is is in his boy, or what we're calling a wounded masculine, when he's in his boy, he hasn't learned that his internal validation is more important than his external
I
validation,
love that. I get you.
right?
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
when the man shows up, or the woman for that matter, they heal the boy or girl within, right? While we're growing up, everyone has some type of childhood trauma. We've all been left alone. We've all been hurt. We've all been bullied. There's something that's gone on in our childhood for us to learn and build resilience from. But if we stay afraid, if we don't do the work on ourselves, then who's going to soothe us? And usually it's an external soothing. When a man is looking towards his wife to soothe him constantly, not, there are times when a man needs soothing as well, and that's perfectly healthy. But when it's on a constant day to day and he's treating her more like a mom than he is a wife, that is a big issue. And that's because there's some unresolved fear within him. And the man, when he shows up, that adult man looks down at that boy, right? If you could put the image in your mind, or the adult woman looks down at the girl that is afraid and says, "Don't worry, I got you." But when it's my success, when it's the way my body looks, what am I dressing? What am I driving? What does my house look like? Those external validations will never put the fear away. I will still feel like I'm not enough.
Right. Right. No, I
So,
hear you.
so when you're dealing with that, and a man who is threatened in that way will respond defensively. This is one of the issues that you see in couples. It's not just a masculine feminine dynamic, which is, one of the key components when it comes to dialogue and communication. When a woman is expressing her own emotional experiences or what she might be feeling, the first thing a man will take in is, well, but his response will be defensive and say, "Well, what do you mean? I'm there all the time. I help with the kids. I help with the dishes." And he thinks that it's about him as opposed to understanding that it's about her. So there's a lot of dynamics that go with having a husband who is in his wounded masculine or his boy. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I just mean that those sharp answers, which might seem assertive to men, but there's a much more caring way to be assertive. I generally say that women want to be put in their place as long as they're loving and caring. And I'll give you an example, right? If my wife says something to me that is disrespectful or hurtful, first thing I do is I usually wait until after the scenario. I give it some time, whether it's a day or a week. And then I'll come back and say, "You know what, honey? I love you to death. You're my favorite person in the world, and I'm never leaving you. I will be here forever. But if you ever talk to me like that again, we're going to have a problem."
Right.
That is the balance of a healthy masculine man that knows he's been disrespected, knows that this relationship will go on forever, Mirza Hashem,
Right.
and I have to now tell her what she's done because she's been out of balance.
Right.
So there's a balance in the communication of giving reassurance that I'm not going anywhere. I love you. We're still connected, but there's been something, a transgression, let's just say, that you need to be aware of, which gives a balance as opposed to coming out angry and personal insults and critical and judgmental, which will leave her feeling like I'm not enough, very disconnected, and now we have a bigger problem in Shalom Bayit.
Right. So I find that maybe, to use your description of the wounded masculine being like a boy, it's also extremely sensitive. So in other words, if a woman is having one of those moments of, like, you call it disrespect, but I just call it dysregulation, right? I don't know what the exact words that she had used, but like if she's all over the place and she's having a freak out or whatever about something.
That happens on a daily basis.
Right? I mean, theoretically there is like
the
emotional
food,
regulation.
putting them to bed, making sure, even when you have bigger kids, who took out the car? Did you put gas in? Why'd you leave your laundry on the floor?
Right.
Yes, moms have a lot of responsibility. So that happens every day.
That Well, I mean, there's work to be done with the feminine too, right? Like, I don't know if that's okay either. Like, but that's, I think, a different topic because she's, you know, she needs to sort of rise, you know, transcend that in her mind and get to a place where she's in her adult self also, and like not caught in the chaos of whatever's going on. And that's again, that it opens a new topic, but like the masculine can see her in her dysregulation. And so I guess not getting offended would just be, you know, learning to talk girl, right? It's like it wasn't about me, it was about her dysregulation, you know, and then, you know, coming back at her with, you know, later saying that before, like you said later, you know, you sounded dysregulated and you were, you know, throwing darts at everybody. Is there anything we can do to help you get to a place where, you need to figure out what you need to do to, you know, learn to regulate. I mean, it's not that you have to, you know, make her regulate, but more point out to her that, like, you know, this level of dysregulation does not work for our family. And ask, is there anything I can do to help you in those times, right? Because yeah, that would be the, you know, yeah. So what can women do to help men with their like wounded masculinity? What can women do?
So I think the biggest secret that we could teach women, and it's nuanced, and I'll go through it, is recognizing a man's efforts.
Yeah.
So this to me goes under the title of appreciation. What women tend to do is they appreciate men as if they wanted to, in the way that they want to be appreciated, and it's different for men, right? I had a phone call today with someone, and she's appreciating by saying, "You're always there for us, and you're the best, and there's no one like you," and that's very much the way a woman would appreciate another woman. That's very what I like to call, you were saying different languages, understanding.
Yeah.
I like to call the female language feminese, and men speak binary code. You know, we're just zeros and ones, and everything's logical. So, you know, appreciation's different for men. For us, it's about the energy we put in to what we do. We want to be noticed. And if I get one thing across to people that watch this now or later, it's everything your husband does, he wants you to recognize. He does it almost like a peacock. He wants his efforts to be noticed. So I've given the example, if he builds something for you, shelves or a table or a chair or something that you might have ordered and came in, and he does it for you, and you're like, wow, thank you so much, you're amazing. That's not going to turn him on as much as, wow, what a chair. Wow, this is rock solid.
I'm literally learning this. I did not know that. So here we are after years of studying this. Right. So yeah, okay.
Or if he goes out and he gets you flowers, don't say, oh, they're so beautiful. Thank you for going and getting me flowers.
Okay.
It's the energy that we put in, because men only put energy in when there's a reasonable return.
But wait, those are two different things. You said I'm trying to learn this like masculine thing. If you're complimenting the bookshelves for the bookshelves, in other words, but with the flowers, you don't get to compliment the flowers.
Right.
So
you compliment his efforts to the flower, meaning he put in the work to build the bookshelf. Right? Okay. So it's the bookshelves, it's not the flowers. You can compliment the flowers too, but just say, wow, you know what? You really thought of me. You went out and you got me flowers. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Right? Okay. Men, we want you to continuously see our efforts as much as women want to be seen, right? I love you. You're beautiful. You're the best mom. You know, thank you for making Shabbat always amazing every week. You know, it wouldn't be the same without you. You is the center of a woman's compliment. That's how a man should speak to his wife in giving her appreciation. For men, it's important to know this, right? Most women want to know, why can't he pick up the socks from the floor? right? Why can't he can't pick up? So there's a lot of answers to that. One is he doesn't see the socks, right? Because of the way men and women's brains are. Men are a single focused being. Women can see things in a scattered motion. They take things in very differently than men do. So he never saw the socks, but she's already thinking, you know what? He saw the socks, didn't pick them up. He doesn't care. He doesn't support me. And she's going off, which, again, a different conversation. But to him, if he did see the socks, the effort of picking up the socks and the reward of the socks is not worth his time and effort, if that makes sense.
I'm still trying to get you.
Yeah. Right? Men will put in energy to where we're going to get the biggest return.
Okay.
So things like taking out the garbage, like men will ask, is that really going to impress you? Like, is that going to be something that's going to be so important? So women can learn to share with their husbands when they want him to do something, what it will provide for you.
Okay. So the garbage.
What
do you give me a dialogue?
Right.
I want you to take the garbage out. Like, what does she say or
she
not
said,
say?
You know what? To me, like, garbage is like really icky, and I don't want to put my fingers on it. Like, I can't even smell it. Like, so you'd be saving me from all this ickiness. Plus, it would give me a sense of calm, right? It would give me a sense of calm, and you start listing some things that are going to provide for you. Now it's worth it for me to put my efforts into it. Now I understand what the return is.
I get it. Okay. So we got to be sneaky. No, not sneaky, but we got to say what it really is for us.
What does
not
it
just
provide?
about the garbage. It's not like a task list, like the way women.
I want to add one thing, which women must listen to. A lot of the times women ask for things, an emotional capacity, that they're not providing for their husbands. There's an imbalance there, right? This will do that, but in return, she doesn't think about him.
Give me an example. I'm not getting it.
Let's say the garbage, right?
Okay.
For you, the garbage is going to be icky, and I'm going to help you with that, no problem, right? But a man is completely focused at his desk, right? He's at the computer or on his laptop, or he's doing some work, and she walks in, and all of a sudden decides to disrupt him out of nowhere. So that thought process of, you're taking him out of his single-minded focus, I now have to change that. So what do I mean? Is women want men to understand them. They want them to learn feminese. They want them to understand connection. They want them to. But women don't want to learn binary code. They just want men to learn feminese. And it's just important for women to understand their man as it is the woman to understand the man to understand his woman.
Well, that's what we're doing here. I mean, that's what this is about. I'm just trying to get you there.
I wanted to highlight that because women do want men to understand them, because a lot of the times they feel misunderstood and they feel alone. I want you to know men feel the same way. We're not just, often say, we're not misbehaving women, right? We don't think like women and just choose not to. And then, women tend to get upset a lot of the times because of it. We're a different species altogether. We're an alien species. We don't think alike. We don't speak alike. We don't see things alike. Nothing is alike. So learning it as much as wanting a man to learn about women, women need to be curious about men.
Right. No, I definitely agree. A question that we were discussing was, how can men develop greater emotional intelligence and empathy? Little change of direction here.
So for me, the transition was knowing something wasn't going right in my own marriage. Okay. Right? We're married 7 years, and I thought I was the best husband ever. I was providing financially. I was taking care of my family. I was working really hard. I have a learning schedule in the morning and at night. And then I show up one day, and my wife says to me, "Hey, honey, I think we need to go talk to someone." And I said to her, literally, "About who?" And she said to me, "About us." I said, "Ooh, okay, you're not happy." She goes, "No, I'm miserable." So we did go to speak to someone, and for about 15 minutes, she was telling him how unhappy she was in the marriage, and how what a terrible husband, not caring, not loving husband I was.
Wow.
And I literally broke down and cried like a little boy.
Yeah.
And
I can.
the person we were seeing turned around and looked at me and goes, "You okay?" I said, "I'm not okay." He said, "Why?" I said, "Because I have no idea what she's talking about. Everything I do is for my family." And
Yeah.
she looked at me and said to me, "How's that possible? You're never with us. And even if you're with us, you're never present. You're always taking a phone call. You're on your phone, you're on your phone, you're on your emails, you're doing whatever it is, but you're never here with us. And the kids don't feel like they're connected with you. I definitely don't feel like, I'm connected to you." And I walked out of that meeting as really feeling like a failure. And I said, there's got to be more to marriage from a male perspective, at least, to understand that, something's off, and what they told me I needed to do, I'm doing, and it's not working. And understanding the needs of a woman, the emotional needs. Most men get stuck in the financial burdens of life, and they think that as provider and protector, that's going to be enough. That is not the that's not the starting point. The starting point is protect and provide emotionally, to understand what she needs, to understand that she needs a sense of safety, which means feeling connected, which means she needs a sense of security, a sense of being reassured. And that providing that for her will allow her to be a better wife, a better mom, a better partner. So
how do you provide that? How?
Well, with women, a man providing that for a woman, I like to call what I call the 5 A's. They're really four, and then an addendum. It's attention, being present, right? Communicate while looking at her in her eyes. Don't wander. Be totally present. Appreciation. I always tell men, she'll remember everything you did to hurt her or wrong, but she forgot you said "I love you" this morning. Right? She needs to hear "I love you," "you're beautiful." Those things are very important to women. So, and then affection, and non-sexual touch, right? A kiss, a hug, or a kiss where she doesn't feel like, "Ooh, he wants something," but genuine affection. It could be a note, it could be a text message, it could be a phone call during the day. "How's your day going?" But that's showing some affection. And then this one's a little bit tougher: anticipation. To anticipate what she's going to need, right? Be in her world. And in the reverse, I would say to women also, be in his world, but we're talking about the male side.
Right.
Be in her world. What's she going through right now? What's her responsibilities? What's her emotions going through right now? And try to anticipate things that she might need. Help shopping, help with the kids. If you have young kids, maybe helping bathing, homework. And I wouldn't even say, I think I misspeak when I say help. It's mutual responsibilities. When she feels that we're doing things and it's our responsibility, when she's kind of like, and I've seen women do this, that when she feels like, okay, she's good, she'll send him on his way, like, "Okay, honey, you're good." And he's like, "No, but I'm helping you." "No, you're good." And she will do the rest. But she just needs that encouragement. And the last day, which I think no man can accomplish, is all for all the time, right? So I usually tell men, shoot for 80%, and then women are going to let the other 20% go. But she knows that
you're right. Yeah.
You're
right. But what do men want though from women? Like, nobody talks about that.
No.
Everybody talks about what women want from men, but what's a great marriage for a man? I feel like it's usually the woman dragging in the man saying, "I'm miserable." It's almost never that like a
No,
man's
there's a
dragging his
lot of
wife.
men. There's a lot of men that are a lot of very, very
They're
vocal about their relationship.
quiet. They just go into their like island situation and like you don't hear about it. But what do men
So
want?
men want two things. One, we want our efforts to be noticed, like we were talking about before. You
Right.
know, I like to use the example of if you came home and your husband forgot to pay the bills and the electric was off, what type of reaction would you have?
Right.
Right? You probably be upset and like, how can you forget to pay the electric bill and now it's turned off and you're irresponsible. But if you ever actually told them thank you for the lights being on,
Do you want that as men?
so
You're representing men. Is that what
gratitude.
men want?
Yeah,
Thank you.
we want our efforts to be noticed. A lot of the things that women ask for, this part of the conversation before, is taken for granted when it comes to men, right? She wants to be seen. He does too. He
Right.
wants to be noticed, right? He wants her to be grateful for the things he's doing. Because when things don't show up or when he does something, when he makes a mistake or forgets something, it's really loud noise.
Yeah.
But you've never thanked me one time for paying the mortgage for the last 20 years. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. True. True. We take it for granted.
Men
Yeah.
are, and believe it or not, men are very lonely.
Yeah.
Women think that they're the only lonely species. It's not true. Men get very lonely. She's busy, she's going, it could be the end of the day, and she's coming in, at 10, 11 o'clock at night, sometimes into the bedroom, and he might be there, you're on his phone, watching TV, whatever, reading a book, whatever he's doing, and, there's really no noticing him.
And
Everything
men
about
won't ask.
no,
Is
we
this
will not
like men won't
ask.
say
It
I'm
has to come
lonely?
from you because
Yeah.
you want me to adore you.
Right.
But when do you adore me?
Right.
When
Right.
do you actually say, "Wow, my husband's home"? I'm so, not verbalizing that, of course, but in reaction wise, "Hey, honey, I love you," or tell him how much he means to you. Women kind of like brush over that. They miss the good. They label men as a one-track mind being. All he wants is my body. He wants to be in the bedroom most of the time, which is not true. We
No.
want to be connected. We value women so much more than women know. But how much do you value men? We're so much on the conversation of females today that we've completely excluded men from the conversation. We have
I
a
think
chart of things that men do wrong in relationships. Where's the chart for women? So I'm
true. I
so
guess
happy
we're
you're actually
wanting this
asking.
rock. Right.
Huh?
No, but we're as women, we're wanting this rock, but he can't be only a rock. Like he has to be a person too. Somebody who we get to know intimately. I'm saying wants dreams. Like I know like the Gottman card decks and all those great questions to ask. Like you really need to know like who your husband's best friend was when he was 7. You know what I mean? Or like what his greatest dreams are, or what's a perfect vacation for him. Or yeah, women have to spend more time thinking
Yeah.
about who he
I,
is and
I
what he
want
wants.
I want to say two things. One is um, slip my mind. I'm going to go to the second thing and it'll come back to me. I got a phone call from a woman who was distraught because this man had such opportunity as far as work was concerned. And he was choosing not to go because it didn't fit his value system. And she just couldn't make it up in her mind where he can make so much more money. And she's
100%.
berating him about him on the phone. And I turned it around and I said to her, wait a minute. I said, sounds like your man is a man of value and integrity. I said, that's hard to find and you're not valuing that. She says, wow, I didn't even think about that. You know,
Yeah.
there, there's so much about what men choose and what they value that women misconstrue and don't really understand the depth of my belief.
I think women have a problem with respect and trust. In other words, if he's making these choices, they're the best ones for him and the family. And like she doesn't get to, especially when it's about his individual work, like I'm saying like or whatever this person called you about. Like she she can say, I wonder why you made that choice, and listen, right? But she should not try to drive him
I think
into whatever she wants him to do.
I think men would love that. And again, I think it's what women ask of men, but don't offer to him. Right? That's what she wants from him. She wants a listening ear. Don't fix it. Let me share with you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, femininity, just switching the conversation from femininity is about you having the space to be filled up, to be able to listen and nurture as opposed to judge and criticize.
Yes, yes. And
You
that's
know?
when things get toxic, when they get when women become controlling or nagging, and it's like, you've got to just have sort of faith that he's going to find his way, which is very hard for, struggling men, women who are dealing with struggling husbands. It's very difficult
I
to just
agree.
trust that he'll find his way. But like that would be the healthier feminine role,
Yeah,
right?
because
Yeah.
feminine energy, I always like to bring an example, from life. You have a seed and you put it into the ground. The seed's masculine and the ground is feminine, but the ground now takes it in, it nurtures it, and it grows it into something so much bigger. And I
Yeah.
think that women have to go back to understanding that healthy nurturing is not weak.
Right.
It's who you are at your core. And that's, when I started talking to you today and I said to you that the world is really penetrated and gotten into women's head about femininity is weak. It's not. It's so much stronger than masculinity. Masculinity is puny in comparison to feminine energy. And what I wanted to say to you is yes, it's exhausting. Can you really understand a masculine man who's on all the time, how exhausted he is? And he can't even get to complain about it.
Yeah. So
Because we
she,
have to be
yeah,
that rock. We have to be that boulder. We have to be the emotional support. In
right,
today's world, I also have to be a 5-star general out in the world, and I have to be a soft lover when I'm back home. So
right,
all these different things are happening to men today, and they're completely confused. Well, do you want this assertive, strong man, or do you want this soft lover? And I think
right.
that this chillant, if I could use that word, has of who we're asking our men to be today is a lot, and I don't
You're
think that we're
suffering.
being valued or recognized for it.
Yeah, you're seeing a lot of suffering
Yeah.
men in your practice. Yeah,
And
there's a
like you
lot.
said, men close down. Men close down because they don't think they can win. They've, painfully said that my situation is not going to change, so I'm going to stop trying.
Yep.
Because that's what will happen to a man after a while. First, if you've asked him for something and he's given you advice or given you some direction or suggestion, and you haven't listened a couple of times, pay attention, women. If your man's lecturing you, it's because he's told you this before. He's not going to lecture you at the first time. If he's upset and he's lecturing you, he's told you this a few times and you haven't listened, but you're still coming up with the same problem, right?
Hmm.
And the
Yeah.
second thing is if I'm past that point, I'm out because again, my efforts have to bring me a return. That's how men are operating system works. I need
Right.
where my efforts are going to go in. I need to know what the return is. But if there's no return, I'm not doing that anymore because failure for men is, God forbid, like cancer.
Yeah.
We don't want it. We don't want to hear about it. We don't want to talk about it. We need to know that we are providing because men want to provide.
Right.
So in both genders, we have a lot of work to do, even though women in their own mind feel that they're so far ahead in relationship, which they are because they have an innate understanding of relationship that men don't. But women today need to really work on themselves to understand how a man thinks, how he speaks, how he operates, so that you can value him.
Yeah. Yeah. No, agreed. I think men also, their identity comes from what they do, not necessarily like, whether it was building those bookshelves or what, financially what they're doing, where women are just, they're better at that. Like women are better at just being who they are without having to like, well, it's like you ask a guy, like, what do? You know what I mean? You don't do that as much to a woman, right? Like, so for men, when there's failures in whatever it is that they did, even if it's within Shalom Bayit, like if there's a failure, they take it a lot harder.
Yes.
In regards, well,
Because,
then if what I was doing didn't work out, then I am nothing, right? Like it's like, yeah.
But again, if you really understand how a man operates, if I am a provider and I wasn't able to provide, why do I exist?
Right.
It's not who women are. Women are a receiver. They're not a provider. They take what they are provided with, and I know I'm dancing around a lot of feminist talk here, but I know what I'm talking about, right? Women are a receiver, and what they receive from their husband, they sometimes will say, "Is this all you got?" Right? This is what you're giving me, which totally shuts down a man. But if I'm a provider and I can't provide, then why do I exist? And that is just soul breaking for a man.
So what should a woman do if he did something that isn't exactly the way she wanted? I'm asking a very real question, right? It's like, you know, it's like
I'm working with a couple and, you know, getting him to help, and he decided to do the dishes on his own, right? And then she texted me and said, "They're filthy. What do I do?"
So, right. It's a perfect example. What should she do?
Like, she should compliment him on helping, and when he's not looking, do the dishes to your quality. Because just because I'm doing the dishes is enough. The quality is subjective.
Okay.
Right? Because then you're not just wanting him to do the dishes, you want him to do the dishes up to your standard.
Your way.
So I work for you. Now I'm an employee. I'm not someone doing something with you. And then the criticism comes in. So what do you want? You want me to do the dishes, or don't you want me to do the dishes? Make up your mind.
Right.
That makes sense?
Very real. No, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I just wonder if she's swallowing like like she's not being so real then, right? Thank you so much for doing the dishes. And really she's thinking like, oh gosh.
But again, what's your priority?
Right, the relationship.
The relationship,
you want to be close.
The relationship comes first, not the dishes. So eat off of dirty dishes, but have a harmonious relationship.
Yeah, it's a choice. It's a choice. I get you. Yeah, no, there's so much.
Honestly, I think most women today would choose the dishes.
Right? It does seem that way. I mean, and I think that's why so many relationships are struggling.
Yes.
Because people have prioritized like the task list, right? It's like they forgot about how great a relationship could be. Like they don't even know that it's out there and it's possible, right?
I agree.
But
I think it's in the high 90 percentile where I say relationships are just parv. Relationships are what they are. You don't have passionate, joyful, fun, exciting relationships out there. They're far and few out there. And most people, and I truly believe this, I think in all Jewish communities, I think that we need education around this subject. We need to speak about polarity. We need to speak about the differences between males and females, how they communicate, what are the emotional needs for men, what are the emotional needs for women, what are the real roles, Torah perspective, what are the real roles of men and women in a relationship vis-a-vis what they're telling us out there in the world today. Because they're lying to us. And you know, I speak about this very often. If you're going to look at the success of women in the workplace today, please bring up the statistics in relationships. They're miserable.
So wait, are you saying that women who are working have marriages that are not as good? Is that what you're...
I want to say that
we're open.
I'm going to say two things.
Okay.
And I have no problem leaning into it. One is prior to, right? Women are working prior to getting married, and they're dating with their masculine energy, not their feminine energy, attracting a weaker man and then complaining about him later. but it's safer for her in their masculine. When they're married, women, I challenge, first of all, women to say, why do you need to approach your work in a masculine energy? Feminine energy would work so much better because it's still at your core. Although we still dip, I dip into my feminine energy all the time. It's necessary. But as your core energy, women have been told today that they need to be in their masculine energy at work and be assertive and be efficient. And it's very untrue. But if you are in your, I'll add one more piece, that women only have much less testosterone than a man does. So when they're in their masculine energy, that testosterone gets depleted and they're exhausted. So that's why women are tired a lot of the times.
It may be one of the causes of dysregulation,
Right.
like possibly. Yeah.
Right?
Who knows?
And the second thing I want to say is, if you are in your masculine energy and you're working, what are you bringing to your relationship? What are you bringing home? Are you bringing efficiency and assertiveness to your children? Are you bringing efficiency and assertiveness to your husband? Because it might not be your success that he's threatened by. It might be your masculine energy in your relationship.
Interesting. Interesting. How would one work out of the home as a feminine in their feminine energy? Like, what does that look like?
So I think the approach is different, right? If we took a task, for example, and we said that we wanted to have a team meeting and we wanted to accomplish a certain goal. I think a masculine way to do it is you would give every person a particular task. You would send them on their way, kind of instruct them, and then come back and then we'll assess. A feminine way is making sure that the team is cohesive. Making sure that there's harmony in the team and that everybody understands their roles and how they complement the other role. It's it might give the same result. It's just a different energy when you're coming into it. And there's a lot of examples like that where women don't have to be masculine men at work.
Do you believe it's that some women have naturally stronger masculine traits and some men have naturally stronger feminine, and are their relationships doomed? Or do they, like, could a more feminine man?
I believe it has to do with your parents, because if we're talking about polarity, if you had a feminine dad and you had a masculine mom, girls are going to be more masculine and the boys are going to be more feminine. Like we talked about Jewish moms
We're doing
before.
like nature versus nurture, right? Like, who knows?
So you have a disciplinary mom and a nurturing dad. They're supposed to be flipped. Dad's supposed to be the disciplinarian and mom's supposed to be the nurturer. This way we end up with masculine boys and feminine girls and they're ready for marriage.
Right, right. But if the woman is more masculine, the guy is more feminine, it could also work, right?
I'm not so certain, because eventually she'll be exhausted, frustrated. She'll lose respect for him, and he's just gonna follow her around like a puppy, kind of like pleasing her, and that's not what she wants. She wants a leader.
So we need to teach men to get more into their masculine and women to get more into their
Absolutely.
That's your belief.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And again, it's a Torah-based relationship. This is not coming out in left field of my own. I can prove it.
No, I agree. Where is it from? Like, if you're gonna throw quotes at us, like where are you?
I would say look at the original story, right? When God created man and woman, Mars tells us that He created them back to back, the perfect balance of masculine and feminine energy. And then when He separated them out, they were separated both with masculine and feminine energy to reharmonize the way He originally made them. Right. Without going into the minutia of the details, but that's the source.
Yeah. Right. All right. So this was amazing. I really enjoyed, and there's so much to learn and so much to teach. So I'm glad you're out there and I'm out there, and we're with a lot of us.
Thank you for the opportunity to be able to have this conversation with you. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, and I hope we'll speak again. So thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
Have
All the
great
best.
day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.